So this lesson is, again, it's looking at graphs and just naming different parts. So we've now done x-y-intercepts, we've done domain and range, we just did increasing, decreasing, constant. Now we're looking at where is a graph positive, negative. The graphs, again, can look exactly the same. We just want to know where they are positive or negative. So let's talk about what that even means. So at the top of your paper, you have this picture and these definitions. It's positive if it is above the x-axis. It is on the negative side if it is below the x-axis. So all we're looking at is if it's above the x-axis, all those pieces are going to be called positive. If it's below the x-axis, all those pieces are going to be called negative. We still move left to right on this every time, and we only use parentheses again. So write that on your paper, actually, just so we don't remember. Always move left to right. And only use parentheses. I spell parentheses wrong. P-A-R-E-N-T-E-S. How do you spell parentheses, you guys? Oh yeah, I did spell it right. Okay, I was thinking I did it very weird. Okay, so always move left to right, always use parentheses. So we're just looking at where the graph is positive and negative. That's it. So looking at number 1, before we even start, this piece is positive, this piece is positive because it's above the x-axis. Does that make sense? And then this entire piece is negative. The whole thing. So we want to know where it's positive, where it's negative. So starting on the left, that yellow, the top piece, it's positive. So we're going to start with positive. It starts, there's an arrow, so it starts at negative infinity. So it's positive from negative infinity until it gets to this spot right there. Then it starts to be negative. So from negative infinity to -2, it's positive. Then the next piece, the entire U piece, don't stop at the bottom. This entire piece is negative. So it starts and stops at those 2 dots. So at -2, it starts and it stops at +2. Then it starts to be positive. So we're going to put a union and it starts at 2 and it goes forever to the right. So it goes to positive infinity. Be careful not to mix up what we just did with what we're doing right now. It doesn't stop like at the low point, like when we were decreasing, increasing. It's stopping when it touches that x-axis because that's where it becomes positive or negative. So that's it for number 1. Number 2. So this piece here is positive. All of that's positive. It's above the x-axis. This piece and this piece are both negative because they're below the x-axis. Then we start left to right, naming our answer. So the first piece is negative on the left, and it has an arrow, which means it goes forever. So it goes from negative infinity, and it goes till we hit this spot right here, which is at -4. Then it's positive. This entire piece is positive. So it kind of starts and stops where I have those dots. So it starts at -4, and it goes to 0. Then it becomes negative again. So we're going to do a union. And it starts at 0, and this piece goes forever to the right. So it goes to positive infinity. And be careful with your infinities that they don't look like 8s. So just make sure they're kind of turned sideways, not up and down. So we don't get 8s and infinities mixed up. Okay, 3. Is that making sense? Do you have questions so far? Okay, it's similar. You just have to, you're identifying something different. So we have positive pieces. This piece is positive. This piece is positive. And then the negative is all this down below is negative. So the first piece right here, this is positive. It has an arrow, so it goes forever to the left. So it starts at negative infinity and it stops at 0. Then we have the negative piece, which starts there and it goes down and back up. It stops here. So it's negative from 0 to 2. Then starting at that dot, going up, it is positive. So it starts, we're going to do a union. It starts at 2 and it goes forever to positive infinity. All right, number 4, this one's got a little tricky piece. Is this graph ever positive? Does it ever go above the x-axis anywhere? So it's never positive. So we're going to say none because it never is positive. But is the entire graph negative? Is it all below the x-axis? Yes. So the entire thing is negative. All of it, no matter what the graph looks like. If it's below the x-axis, it is positive. And it has arrows also, or it's negative, I'm sorry. It has arrows both directions. So it goes from negative infinity to positive infinity, and it is negative the entire time. I could even have a graph that kind of looked like this. Like if I just had something that was like this, it never is positive. It doesn't matter what the graph looks like. All I care about is it's all below the x-axis. It never goes above the x-axis. So you're just looking at where it is. Is it above or below? It doesn't matter what shape it is. Is it above or below? All right, number 5. So above, so starting here, all of this is positive, but this piece is negative. So if it's above, it's positive, below is negative. So the left side, the purple piece, is negative. That's where we're starting, and it's going clear to the left forever. So the negative piece goes from negative infinity, and it stops right here on the x-axis, which is at negative 1, 2, 3, 4 if we count. So negative 4. Then it becomes positive at the same number, so negative 4, and it goes forever to the right, which is up to positive infinity. Okay, 6 is kind of hard to read on your paper. If you can see those dots though, can't you? You can kind of see them. They're kind of hard to see. So number 6. So we have a bunch of pieces. This piece is negative. This piece here is negative. So all that's negative. But then we have this piece positive and this piece positive. So we have 2 positives, 2 negatives that we're going to have, 2 parentheses for each. So starting on the left. So this first piece right here that I have in pink, that is negative, but it's starting at the left, which is negative infinity. Then it stops right where it touches the x-axis, which is at 1, 2. You can't see it on your paper very good. You can kind of look up here and see it better. So it's negative 2 though, right? Because it's on the left. Then the next piece, this piece right here is positive. And it's positive from negative 2, stopping at 0. Then it becomes negative again, starting at that same point. This whole entire thing's negative. Don't stop at the bottom of your U on these. So it's negative, so union with 0 to 1, 2, 3 is where that goes to. And then it becomes positive, so we'll put a union there. And it starts at 3, and it goes forever to the right, so it goes to positive infinity. Okay, any questions? That's all we have on that one. We're good? Okay.